Welcome to Mind Shield. We protect the mind and pursue the truth. Let's get started.
We've all seen it in the movies, right? The all-powerful, almost magical eye in the sky, capable of seeing anything, anywhere. Well, today, we're putting that whole idea to the test. We're going to see what satellites can actually measure, what they can't, and where the incredible claims start to outrun the cold, hard laws of physics.
I mean, this right here, this has been the vision for decades. This promise of total awareness from above, a kind of godlike view of the entire world. It's a really powerful idea, and it's totally captured our imagination. But the big question is, how much of this is actual science, and how much is just science fiction? Let's find out.
And this really gets us to the heart of it. We hear these incredible claims all the time about tracking individuals from orbit, even about synthetic telepathy. But is any of it actually possible? This is the exact point where technological ambition slams headfirst into the unmovable wall of physics.
To really get the limits here, we have to start with two of the biggest hurdles you can possibly imagine: the unbelievable scale of space and the sheer power you'd need to send a signal across it. And remember, we're talking about huge distances. A satellite in low Earth orbit is hundreds of kilometers up, and a geostationary one is over 35,000. These aren't just technical problems. They are fundamental constraints baked right into the rules of the universe.
So first up, let's talk about focus. Just like any camera, a satellite has what's called spatial resolution. But when you're hundreds of kilometers away, trying to focus on a single person is kind of like trying to read the date on a coin from the opposite end of a football stadium. The energy, the beam, it just spreads out way too much.
And yeah, this number really drives the point home. The typical footprint of a satellite's beam isn't the size of a person or a car or even a house. It's kilometers wide. So you really shouldn't be thinking of a precise laser pointer. It's much more like a massive, city-sized flashlight.
Now, this brings us to an absolutely crucial concept, the signal-to-noise ratio, or SNR. Imagine you're at a super loud rock concert, and you're trying to hear your friend whisper from across the room. That whisper is your signal. The blaring concert, that's the noise. For a satellite to detect any faint signal from Earth, that signal has to be powerful enough to shout over all the natural electromagnetic noise of the universe.
And it can't just be barely audible. As this report from the National Research Council points out, for a signal to be reliable, to actually be useful, it needs to be 100 or even 1,000 times stronger than all that background noise. It has to be crystal clear, not just a faint mumble in the static.
And here, right here, is the problem. This is about how much power the electrical signals in your brain generate. It's an infinitesimally small amount of energy. Trying to detect that from space would be like trying to spot a single firefly from the surface of the moon. The signal is just way too weak to ever get the signal-to-noise ratio you would need.
But okay, let's just imagine for a second that you could somehow generate a signal that was strong enough. It's still not home free, not even close. It has to survive a brutal journey. It has to punch its way through Earth's messy, turbulent atmosphere.
You should think of our atmosphere as a natural shield. It's this chaotic mix of dust, water, charged particles, you name it. Any signal that tries to pass through gets weakened, scattered, and absorbed. The information it's carrying gets completely garbled. For many signals, it's just like running into a brick wall.
And all of that leads us to something called the radio window. Now, it's not a physical window, of course. It's a very specific range of frequencies that can actually make the trip between space and the ground without being totally blocked. If your signal isn't in this very narrow window, it doesn't matter how powerful it is. The atmosphere just stops it cold.
Okay, so let's pull all this together and do a quick reality check. Now that we get the core constraints, distance, power, the atmosphere, we can see what's truly possible. And we also have to add in timing, right? A satellite in low Earth orbit is screaming along at thousands of miles an hour. It might get one good look, but it won't be back over that same spot for hours, sometimes even days.
This table really lays it all out. Can satellites make radar maps of military bases day or night? Absolutely. That is a known capability. They do it with powerful radar signals they send down and listen for the reflection. Can they track a satellite phone? Yes, also known, because the phone is a powerful transmitter that is literally designed to be heard from space. But reading thoughts through a roof? That's where we get to implausible. The brain's signal is incredibly weak, and it's blocked by everything, your own skull, the building you're in, and then it would still have to survive that whole journey through the atmosphere. The physics just does not add up.
And to put this into perspective, let's look at a classic piece of spy tech, the Great Seal bug. Soviet agents hid a passive microphone inside the U.S. ambassador's office. To listen, they just beamed radio waves at it from a van parked right outside, and it worked for 6 years. But look at the conditions. They were inches away, in a quiet office. Now compare that to remote sensing from space, hundreds of kilometers of distance, insane power requirements, and multiple physical barriers. The lesson here is pretty clear. Effective, subtle surveillance almost always requires being close. It needs proximity.
So what's the bottom line? When we strip away all the sci-fi, what's the real story of satellite surveillance and what it can and can't do?
It's this. The single biggest limiting factor isn't how sophisticated our technology is. It's the fundamental laws of physics. Distance, power, and the atmosphere create a set of constraints that no amount of fancy software can just wish away. Satellites are unbelievably powerful tools for large-scale monitoring, but they are absolutely the wrong tool for persistent, pinpoint surveillance of a single person's biological signals.
So if satellites aren't the mythical all-seeing eye, then what is? Well, you should join us next time, because we're going to uncover how people are actually tracked. And you might be surprised to find out that the most effective surveillance has nothing to do with space and everything to do with the data we all create every single day. Thanks for joining me.